So welcome everyone. Welcome to the Habit Design for Disease Reversal series in the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. And we are so happy to see you all. I know it's summer and it's a nice time to enjoy. So hopefully you're having a very good summer. And we are enjoying the summers. So our son is home, and it's nice to get some family time, do hiking, and do a lot of fun family activities. And hopefully you guys are also enjoying the summer. So we'll get started. Um, this is a habit design for disease reversal series, and in the first two sessions I talked about how to design a habit. So if you have missed seeing that session, you can definitely rewatch that. So all the replays are already provided within the PBNSG. And so in the first session, we talked about how to design a habit. And what I'll do is I'll briefly give the overview while we are trying to see how we can design our habit for our meals, for our plant-based eating. So when it comes to habit design, I'm just wondering, do you guys remember what are the five things to shape a habit or to shape a behavior? So anybody remembers that? What are the five things that are required? All these five things need to be in place to shape a behavior. And even if one of this is missing, maybe that behavior is not permanent, in the sense, initially when we start doing things, we might do out of motivation. But the goal in these sessions are how can we make healthy things a habit? How can we do that so that we are not using our emotions? How can we build a habit so that even though we are stressed, no matter what condition we are in, how can we develop something that becomes like an automatic reflex? So, for example, when you see a red light, what do? You stop. It's a reflex. It doesn't matter whether you are sad, whether you're happy. So that is like a conditioned reflex. So here, what we are doing is in these sessions, we are learning how to make a behavior as a conditioned reflex, where we are not using our willpower to do anything, because we want to take that off. We are not relying on our motivation, we are not relying on our willpower. So in the first session, I talked about what are the five things that are needed to shape a behavior. So briefly, just to remind you guys, it is so the first one is, so hopefully you guys are able to see the screen, right? And hopefully I'm sharing the right.
We can
I'm
see
sharing
it.
the right one. Okay. Okay. So the first one is, it is a physical action that you want to do. And what we'll do is today we'll apply all these five things for our so let's say right now we are trying to design a habit around cooking our meals, or you can say around plant-based eating. So let's say if we want to design a habit around plant-based eating, what are the things that we need to keep in place? So one is, it's a physical action you want to do. When I say it's a physical action you want to do, so if you are saying to yourself, I'm going to cut out meat, or I'm going to cut out dairy, it's not a physical action, right? You are just thinking that you are going to cut out. But instead, if you are going to say to yourself, I'm going to cook plant-based meal this week, like instead of like a meal containing animal products, so maybe I'm going to cook a meal which is plant-based this week. So that is an example of it has to be a physical action you want to do. And in terms of like, instead of saying I'm going to quit smoking, you are saying I'm going to chew the Nicorette gum. Instead of saying that I'm going to quit dairy, you're going to say I'm going to substitute plant-based milk for the dairy milk. I'm going to substitute the yogurt with plant-based yogurt. So these are the examples of like when you want to shape a behavior, it has to be a physical action. The other thing is it should pass the snapshot test. What we mean by the snapshot test is at any particular time when you see a certain action is happening. And just to give you more idea about the snapshot test. So snapshot test is like taking a mental photo at a random time and asking, if I walked in right now, would I see the person doing what they said they wanted to do or see something that leads to it? So again, when we say snapshot test, it is something that is observable and measurable, has moved from intention to action, is embedded into person, environment, and routine. So now let's apply in our daily life. So for example, like in the previous session, in the last session, I actually provided some examples of snapshot test. So let's say, I took two examples. So let's say if you're writing a book or a blog. So for example, let's go with the blog. So one is, first of all, you have to select a topic. You have to write an outline and have a draft. Then you edit, then a final review done, and the act of finally publishing. So let's take in context of meal planning. Okay, so when it comes to making our meal, when I say a snapshot test, so these are the few things that need to happen for that action to happen. Did you do the meal planning? So, or did you decide what you want to cook? Then, did you make the grocery list? Did you buy the ingredients? Did you or get the ingredients? Then preparing the grains or beans. So did you make your sauces? Did you prepare your veggies? And finally, the act of cooking. So whenever we think of a habit, I know like we think of, okay, so cooking a meal in itself is a habit, but if you break down into steps, so cooking the meal itself has many steps involved. So, and I usually tell my people cooking is 70% prepping and organizing, and 30% is just the act of cooking. So, and all of those things, you don't have to do it at the same time. So let's say, I mean, we will go over this in detail in a minute, but just to give you ideas about the snapshot test, let me first address the other five components. So one is it has to be a physical action. It should pass the snapshot test. And then you're doing in 5 increments or less. So let's say if you want to design this behavior of meal prepping, instead of saying to yourself, I'm going to prepare all the 7 meals for this week, plant-based way, you just say to yourself, so let's say if you have never cooked plant-based, so you're transitioning from animal-based cooking to cooking whole food plant-based eating. So instead of saying that I'm going to like this week I'm going to cook all the meals plant-based way, you just say to yourself, so maybe I'm going to cook 1 or 2 meals plant-based. So you do not want to go more than in increments of 5. And the other thing is not defined by time. So whenever it comes to behavior, we want to set it up, attach it to an anchor rather than defining it by time. And so 5 words or less is how you are actually defining the behavior. So I actually went in greater detail in the first session. So just to get the gist of how to design a habit, you can definitely watch the first session. And in the second session, I actually covered like about our motivation. So what actually motivates people to do a certain action? Um, any guesses? What do you think motivates us to um, do certain things?
Have an end result, like a goal or something.
Yeah, so that is one thing, have an end result. So, or let me give you a hint. What is the motivation hormone? Any guesses? What is the motivation hormone? So here again, the I mean, I know this I covered in detail in the last session. So when it comes to doing an action, we need dopamine. So dopamine is something that actually, so when dopamine does three things to you. When you're performing an action, it gives you pleasure. Okay. And when you do that certain action, it actually brings cravings. So it actually tells you that to repeat that action. So it brings cravings. And the third part, it actually motivates you to repeat the action. So these are the three things that dopamine does. And like what science has showed that like for people for whom the dopamine circuitry is damaged. So you see that those people have difficulty for doing things. So, for example, when they like when they studied people suffering with Parkinson's disease, and when they did the brain studies, they found that certain part of the brain for people experiencing Parkinson's disease, what they notice is they a part of dopamine circuitry is lost. So that's why in Parkinson people, like you see that flat effect. And also for people experiencing major depressive disorder, again, that dopamine circuitry is lost. So that's why it's the other key aspect. So when it comes to behavior, dopamine is the hormone that you need to perform an action. So for example, so let's say when you eat a pizza, what happens? The You take a bite and you like it, and the dopamine is saying, yes, I like this, I like the taste of this. So because the dopamine is flowing, so and then you say, okay, what am I going to eat tomorrow? So the dopamine is going to tell you that, okay, since you like the taste of pizza, maybe you want to have it again. So that is making you crave for the next bite or next day. So again, what you say, okay, tomorrow, what am I going to have? I'm going to have pizza. And what are you going to do tomorrow? Again, you're going to have pizza. So what dopamine does, it actually activates and it actually motivates you to do the step. So and the next thing is, so once, let's say we have the motivation, we have the, and how do we deal like when we experience stress? One thing is when we are learning about habit design or behavior shaping. So it's just like we want to learn swimming in calm waters rather than the stormy waters. So it's not under stress that you learn how to design a habit, but it's once you get all the steps and once you try to implement the steps, then and when you repeat it, what you find that new tracks are formed in your brain, and it's very easy for you to perform that action. Okay, so so that's one thing. So let's apply all these principles for our plant-based cooking. How many of you actually think that cooking is very stressful? Especially like if you have to cook for the whole week, you have to cook for the family. So how many of you think cooking is very stressful? Yes, I know for some it's stressful, for some they enjoy cooking, but what you would notice for people who actually enjoy cooking, it has become an unconditional reflex for them. They have kept some things in place. They have actually have this habit design in place so that it runs like a clockwork. So today let us see like how we can make it like a clockwork, how we can make this as a habit rather than like seeing this as a chore, and like really struggling with this. So any questions so far? So based on like what we have covered so far, and uh, and yes. Okay. So any questions so far? We are good. Okay. So the other thing is what I spoke in previous class is also when we are doing a habit design, we are setting up. So there is something called setup, anchor, trigger, the act of doing the habit itself, and the reinforcer. So, and it's very important that we attach the habit to our previous existing habit or anchor. And again, I spoke about this in detail in the first class. So, for example, what are you attaching your meal prep? What is the anchor you are planning to choose? So few examples in the first class we talked about is, so let's say like if you want to drink more water, if you want to establish a habit of drinking more water or establish a habit of doing a physical activity or walking. So what we did, we actually attached it to the anchor of previous habit. Sometimes we think maybe I don't have habits to attach to, but 40% of our brain actually functions based on habits. Otherwise, it's very difficult for the human brain to function if it's not habit based. So one is, what are the things that what is coming to your mind when you're thinking of what are the things that I can actually use to set an anchor to, or what is that I want to attach to? So Hart is asking, what I have been doing for the past 2 weeks, I create a good job list instead of a to-do list. Good job list comes in two parts. One page has tasks and one page has completed tasks with good job. Okay. And written beside it. Basically, I'm creating a positive list instead of a to-do chore list. So that's a beautiful example, Hart. So that's one way. It increases my dopamine level. Yes, and when you check something, what you notice is It's like just hitting a dopamine button. It increases your dopamine level, what to do. So here, what we are going to do is we are actually going to utilize the power of dopamine, and we are going to utilize this power of habit design to actually design the meal prep habit. So one is when it comes to dopamine, just like willpower, every day you get a certain amount of dopamine. So for example, it's like having certain amount in your bank account. For example, let's say every day I deposit $100 in your bank account, and every day you have that $100 to spend. You like beyond $100, you won't be able to spend more because that's how much you're getting. Same thing with dopamine. So once you are done with the quota of dopamine for the day, you would actually have no motivation to do anything. So the best thing is, how are we going to utilize the dopamine? One example I gave in the last session is you can think of dopamine as a juicy lemon. So when the lemon is full, just a gentle squeeze gives you more juice. So activities, when you do activities when you have full dopamine, then it is very easy for you to get motivated and continue the activity, versus when your dopamine levels are very low and you're tired. When you are tired at the end of the day, what is that you want to do? You just want to lie down, maybe pick up your phone, watch TV. Why? Because your brain is craving for more dopamine. When there is not much juice left in the lemon, I have to really squeeze hard to get those last drops of juice. So same thing, when the when you are tired and do not have much dopamine, your brain is looking for that hard squeeze. So scrolling through your phone, playing video games, watching TV is like that hard squeeze. Whereas exercising, choosing to eat healthy foods, choosing to eat more greens, choosing to eat more fruits and vegetables is like that gentle squeeze. Now, when do you want to do the activities? When your dopamine is full or when you're depleted with dopamine? Sometimes what people do is, when it comes to meal planning, they try to think about it when they come home evening, 5 or 6. That's the time you think about preparing your meal. And that's the worst time actually to do any meal planning, meal prepping, or cooking, because there's not much energy left. Versus when you are full of energy, and this could be either in the morning, or this could be like, let's say, when you don't have much work to do, either during the weekend. So the first thing is, when it comes to meal prep, you are choosing the time when you are not stressed and when you have more energy. So I'll talk more about it in a second. So one is like, we are choosing to do our meal prep when we have more energy. That's one thing. The other thing is when it is comes to setup. So deciding what to eat is a huge task. You might be thinking that maybe making, like, in a day you have to make so many decisions, and if you're like, what do I eat for breakfast, what do I eat for lunch, what do I eat for supper, it's a draining, like it really drains your brain. Like how many of you have experienced, like, if you have to decide every day, and so in a day you have to make so many decisions, right? So you get decision fatigue. And every day, sometimes we eat 3 times or 4 times, or for some people it's 2 times. But so you have to constantly think about it, which is quite draining. So here, when it comes to deciding what to eat, we are doing that beforehand. So let's say for the next week, what is that I'm going to eat for the next week? So you are thinking about it even before the time has arrived. Like when So like after medical school, like when you go through your residency training, it's very rigorous. Like at that time when we were doing, like we had to almost work 100 hours per week. And at that time, I used to get only 1 day per month just to do shopping, like not much time to do any other activities. So like at that time, the way I applied this concept was that one day, like I had to organize myself in a way that I'm shopping for the whole month. I'm preparing the meal plan for the whole month, and like I'm buying the ingredients for the whole month. But I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm just giving you an example. But for you folks, like you could just do 1 week at a time. So, but for people who are very busy and unable to do this, you can also do it for a month. Yeah. Uh, yes. So Bonnie is saying definitely agree that it's important to avoid decision fatigue. That's right. So what you do is you literally take a pen and paper and decide what is that you're going to eat for the next week. Don't skip this step. So as I said, in behavior shaping, you have the snapshot test. If this step is not happening, you won't be moving to the next step. So deciding what to eat is the first step. And then prepare or getting the list of the ingredients, what you need is the second step. And buying the ingredients itself is the third step. And then prepping your vegetables, grains. So this is the fourth step. And the act of cooking is the final step. So as you can see, there are so many steps. If the first four steps haven't happened, the final step is not going to happen for you. So on after a heavy day of work, you come home and you have not done this four steps and you're trying to get your act together for the final step. How likely are you to get the meal cooked? You really struggle, right? So here, what we are going to do is the first four steps, we are going to make it automatic. And by automatic, what I mean to say is what you would see, what you would observe is this is the four steps, you do it again and again and again. So every week, yes, you're deciding what to eat for next week. And then you have to shop for the ingredients. You have to prepare your veggies, beans, grains. So this is a step you have to do every week, or for some people who cook every day, maybe every day. So how to make it easy. So one thing is you can actually divide the ingredients. So even when it comes to shopping, like all the staples, like grains or beans, it's not that you have to shop every week. So you can buy it in bulk, and since they are not perishable, so you can. So maybe you are buying them once in 6 months. So in a way, and also the way you're organizing it, you are able to see when they're getting low. So how you're organizing your pantry, how you're organizing your kitchen is another level of organization, I would say. So that's one. So even when it comes to grocery shopping, like don't think in terms of like every week you have to buy all this, but your list gets smaller and smaller. So once you have your staples, every week all you're buying is your maybe buying your plant-based milk, buying fresh greens, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. That's it. And what you would notice is you tend to cook the same type of foods so let's say even before, like if you were cooking chicken or any meat-based dishes, what you would do, maybe you will prep your chicken or steak or fish, and you will actually eat the same thing for 2 or 3 days. It's not that you're cooking a variety, but same thing with the plant-based. But once you start cooking plant-based, you notice that there is so much variety. At the same time, it's very easy for people to get overwhelmed, and they're thinking, okay, maybe like I have to look at the recipe books, and then it's the first time you're hearing about maybe aquafaba. You're thinking about what is this liquid smoke, or what is this nutritional yeast, and you get to know about a lot of other ingredients that you have not heard of. You also get to know about certain fruits and vegetables which you were never aware of. Like, then you are like, okay, what is this endive? What is this durian? What is this buttercup squash? Or what? So you get to know so many things. So instead of churning recipe books, so here, what is the simple system we can do so that like this becomes a easy task? What you would notice is if you have a grain prepared, a bean prepared, and your veggies prepared, and your sauces prepared, that's that's very golden. So you are applying the rule of 5 increments or less. So one is you're preparing your grains, so you're either cooking your rice, quinoa, and if you're familiar with other grains like millets, sorghum, teff, amaranth, jowar. So if you're familiar, how do you apply the steps to different exercise program? I'm overwhelmed with the choices yoga. So Karen, so we are also doing a session on how to apply the habit design for exercise. I know like today's session is habit design for plant-based cooking. But we also have a session coming up for the physical activity as well. So I think that session would definitely answer all your question. So coming back to our meal prep. Uh, so one is the act of doing the physical. If you remember the 5 rules of behavior shaping, so the act of doing. So here you are saying that, okay, so what am I cooking this week? Okay. And then you are applying the snapshot test. In the snapshot test, select all the 5 things: doing the meal planning or deciding what to cook, preparing your grocery list, doing the grocery shopping, preparing your grains, beans, vegetables, and sauces, and then using 5 increments or less. Okay, so basically preparing your grains, beans, sauces comes under like where you're just doing 5 or less things in terms of meal prep. You're not doing more than that. And the other thing is it's not defined by time. So you're not saying that, okay, evening 6 o'clock or morning 5 o'clock, I'm doing this. It's not time bound, but it is attached to an anchor. So when I say attached to an anchor, what is the time I'm going to pick to cook my grains? What is the time I'm going to pick to cut my veggies? What is the time I'm going to pick to do the act of cooking itself? And this would differ for individual to individual. And I'm just giving you a few examples so that it might give you some ideas. So personally, what I do, I actually cook every day because that gives me joy that I'm serving fresh meals to my family. And the way I get this done is week before I know that what am I going to like. I have already decided the menu for the week, and I take the input of my family members. So the way I do it is I pick the favorites. What does my husband like to eat? What does my son like to eat? And what do I like to do? So don't ignore yourself. So in the list, you are listing all your favorites. So there are certain favorites when it comes to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Starting with my son, he loves to have waffles or pancakes or steel cut oats. And when it comes to my husband, he loves the steel cut oats. And when it comes to me, I love the oat groats, the whole oats. So I take into account like what each one of us love. And when it comes to main meals, again, like the way my son grew up is, I would say he was composed of just five things. He would just eat noodles or pasta, or he would just eat waffles or pancakes. And the other thing is, we call it as dal, which is like a lentil dish, Indian dish, and mac and cheese. And the other thing is like at that time, like we used to call that as butter tofu. So it's a creamy dish. So which you, except that he wouldn't eat anything else. So as long as those are on the table, I'm not worried. At least he will have something. And again, like when it comes to my husband, so his favorites were like having a spicy flavored rice or curries or creamy soups. And so I used to just make, so the first step is to plan the menu, which includes the favorites for all the family members. So that used to be the first step. And then making sure I have the ingredients for all of those things. And the third thing is now, like when it comes to prep work, what is the time I'm choosing to do prep work? So there are certain combinations. So what I used to find is, especially like when you have the gadgets like Instant Pot, like all you need to do is just put the grain, put the water, turn the button. That's it. So, and like you're not standing near the stove, stirring or making. So cooking your grains is very easy. So I used to, so whenever even before going to that, I just wanted to share this thing. So my son, he's in university now, and before going to university, I wanted to make sure that he learned the skill of cooking. And so I wanted to apply the same habit design techniques on him as well. He uh, obviously, it's not that he was fond of cooking or he wanted to do that. As far as possible, he wants to get away from it. So he was a teenager. I had to literally twist his arm and say that you're not getting your cell phone if you're not doing. So for what I used to do is I used to ask him to cook his steel cut oats. So all he has to do is put the steel cut oats, put the water, press the instant pot button. And I made him do every day for the next 30 days. Initially he hated that, but like then he found it just became easier and easier. So as soon as he got up, so again setting up an anchor. So what he used to do is as soon as he got up, he would come and put his steel cut oats, put the water and turn on the instant pot and go do his meditation practice and exercise. And this was like before going to school. So his school bus would come around 7:40. So as soon as he get up, so his trigger was getting up, turning on the instant pot. So that was attached to getting up. And after turning on the instant pot, go do your exercise, meditation. And by the time you're done with that, the hot oatmeal is ready. And he would just add some bananas, berries, and eat his oatmeal before going to school. So, as I said, initially that was a huge task, but since when he did that same act every day, it literally became unconscious. And right now he's doing his medical school as well. But even though, I mean, I know it's so overwhelming, it's so stressful, but he manages to cook that steel cut oats still now, which I really feel proud of. So again, like here, it's not about like how busy you are, how stressful you are, but if you have made that into an habit, it really becomes easy. So see, like when it comes to preparing your grains or beans, what is the anchor you can attach to? So personally for me, what I do is I find that sometimes I have time in between appointments. So I it might be 5 minutes or 10 minutes time, and it's during that time maybe I might go and turn on the instant pot. I might cook my bean, or I might cook. I actually have three instant pots on my kitchen counter. So in one instant pot, grain is cooking. In one instant pot, bean is cooking. In one instant pot, maybe sweet potatoes or potatoes are cooking. So you can add, again, like I'm not suggesting that maybe you have to buy so many gadgets. So let's say even if you have just one instant pot, so you can say, okay, one day, Monday, I'm cooking the grain. Tuesday, I'm cooking the bean. Wednesday, I'm cooking another type of bean. Thursday, I'm cooking another type of grain. So you could just pick. You could just pick one activity and attaching to the anchor. So that's one example. And again, coming to prepping veggies. So again, like what I see is in between my appointment times, prepping my veggies, like chopping the onions, chopping the tomatoes, or chopping the veggies. So that usually takes me 10 to 15 minutes for chopping the veggies. And by the time evening comes, what has happened is my prep work is done. My grain is cooked, my bean is cooked, I have the chopped veggies, and it just takes me 15 to 20 minutes to put the meal together in the evening and offer that fresh meal to the family members. So instead of doing all the things at once, you can definitely do at different time. And I also want to give my example, what my son does. So instead of choosing the weekends as the meal prep, like what he found was maybe it is easy for him to prep during the weekdays and utilize Saturday and Sunday to cook the full meals for the whole week. In that way, it's easy. So maybe Monday he's cooking a grain. Tuesday, maybe he's cooking some beans. Same thing, Wednesday, he's choosing to chop his vegetables. Thursday, he's choosing to prep his sauces and all that. So when it comes to Saturday, Sunday, and that's the day, like he prepares one noodle dish. So he just combines his veggies and noodles. Then he makes in the instant pot, he makes a lentil dish or dal. So the hefty cooking is done during the weekends, and the prep work is done during the weekdays. So that is his method of preparing his meals. And similarly, like some people, what they find is just doing the prep work on the weekends is easy. On weekdays, since they already have the prepped grain, bean, and so just putting together, or the act of cooking. So you decide, you choose like when it is convenient for you to put together things. But once you realize that you don't have to do all this steps at once, it actually gives you time. It actually gives you freedom, rather than thinking that everything you have to do it at once. So that, and you can actually attach each action to a trigger. So for example, like let's say Sunday or Saturday is your shopping day. So that's when you're getting your fresh greens and all that. So Monday could be where you're cooking your fresh greens. Wednesday could be like where you're cooking your perishable vegetables, either zucchini or cucumber and those sort of things. And again, Friday or Thursday or Fridays when you're cooking your carrots, beets, or potatoes, which are which can last a little bit longer. So those are different examples of how you can design, like how you can shape the behavior and make it less overwhelming. So that's so any questions for the process so far? You guys are good? Okay. So I'm just going to put everything in perspective for you. Let me share the screen. Okay, so no, this is not, okay, this is not the right one. Oops. Okay, looks like for some reason I lost, you guys are able to, yeah. So for some reason I lost you guys for a second.
We're just seeing the gallery view right now, Dr. Shobha.
Okay. Okay. The speaker view. What happened?
Now you're spotlighted.
Okay. But is it still streaming, Vanessa? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. For some reason, I thought I lost you guys for a second. Okay. Okay. So let me share this one. Okay, let me know if you guys are able to see
No.
this. Am I?
Okay.
You guys are able to see the
Yeah.
screen? Okay,
We can
good.
see your PowerPoint now.
Okay. Okay, you guys are able to see this, right? Okay. So just to rehash the steps. So step one is deciding what you want to eat and what your favorites are, what your family favorites are, and what type of dishes do you want to come up with. Just to make your meal planning simple, you can think, okay, am I making soup, stews, stir fries, salad, sandwiches, or porridge? What is that I'm going to do? So that makes your decision easy. So initially when you're doing the meal plan, if this is the first time you're trying to prepare plant-based milk, I would suggest you actually stick to only three. You pick only three. Either you pick your favorite. If you love stir fries, pick that. If you love soups, pick that. If you love stews or salad or sandwich, whatever. So just pick three instead of trying to do too many things. And this is just an example of listing the favorites. So here, AR just stands for my husband, S stands for our son, and SR is my favorite. So I just listed the favorite of all the family members. So that is step two. And then what grains, beans, vegetable, fruits do I need? So that is the next step. And in the following step, you are listing the ingredients. So let's say if you're preparing the grains, beans, and what veggies you need. So again, so here is what I did is I just listed all the ingredients, all the fruits, veggies, grains that I need. And then this you can skip for you because, and then like how much time do you have per week for food prep? How many times do you usually cook? And what you would find is, so let's say even if you're planning to cook every day, so let's say for cutting fruits, it takes 10 minutes. For cutting veggies, 10 to 30 minutes. For cooking grain, 10 minutes. For preparing and cooking beans, 10 minutes. So, and the actual act of cooking, it's taking 15 to 30 minutes. So even if I calculate the whole time, it takes 60 minutes. A lot of people say that I don't have time for cooking. But they don't realize is they actually waste this time in something else. If you're not making the act of home cooking, I know it has become a lost art, but if you are not cooking or making it a daily habit, you are spending your later years with doctor's visit, hospital runs. So you are losing time in some manner or fashion if you don't make time for this now. And then step 4 is prepping your grains, beans, and everything. So here, to give you an example, so like here I have prepared the chickpeas, the white navy beans, quinoa, and the sauces. This is the cheese sauce and baked some potatoes. So this is the act of prepping. And here's an example of like, this is just an everyday fruit prep, like cut different fruits. And when it comes to morning breakfast, so for me, as I said, I love oat groats. So I cook oat groats for the whole week. And then every day, even though I'm using the same oat groats, just by changing the fruits, I'm changing. It just looks like as if I'm eating something different. So first day, I'm just adding berries. Second day, like I'm blending some blueberries and making like uh, blues and adding other fruits. Third day, I'm blending strawberries and adding other fruits. Fourth day, I sometimes add greens to my oatmeal. Again, this is not something that you have to do. So I blend some greens and you can combine either kale, banana, soy milk. You blend it, and this is overnight oats. So let's say if you don't like cooking at all, you just take rolled oats, add plant-based milk, add fruit. That's the simple way of having your breakfast. So that's done. This is just to provide you some more examples. So the oat groats, they don't have to be with fruits always. I can also make it savory by adding. So here I added buttercup squash. Here I added different veggies and I just mixed with vegetable stew. So that's one example. And during the weekends, so either we go for waffles or pancakes. And for our son, so when I make this waffle and pancakes, I make banana syrup and sometimes I mix bananas, blueberries, and greens. So I hide the greens in this way so he doesn't know that this smoothie has spinach or kale. So in this way, you are able to serve the waffles with the sauce. So here, what I did was actually I prepared this waffles with the navy beans instead of using the flour. And what I did with the chickpeas, so some chickpeas I used to make chickpea curry. Some chickpeas I just used it to throw it on the salad. Some chickpeas I just used to throw it on the wrap. So this and uh, and some chickpeas are used to make a dessert. So this is the chickpea truffle. And so this is another example of prep work. So in between my appointment time. Since I some days I work from home, what I do is it's easy for me to chop the vegetables. So by the time evening is there, my vegetables are chopped. So I'm not straining over. So here you could see I have some chopped cabbage, zucchini, onions, carrots, peppers, broccoli, tomatoes, and this is cooked brown rice. So what I did with this, so cabbage, I turned it into a cabbage curry and I made a cabbage dip. And with the remaining vegetables, I combined all of them and made it into a stew. This is another day example where I have beets, uh, this and different, as you can see, we have different veggies. So I combined all these vegetables to a salad, and I use and it's very hard for you to see, so I use the tomatoes to make the tomato lentil dal, and I use the carrot to make the carrot curry. So this is cabbage, another type of cabbage dish, and this is okra. And when it comes to having the meals, so when you are eating the meals, so see like at least half of the plate if you can have veggies. So you can either have a salad, and again, like 1/4 of the plate you have the grain, and 1/4 of the plate you have the bean and any other cooked vegetable. So this is one example. So again, I didn't cook all of these on the same day, if you notice. So the different parts of the act were done at different times. Then what I did, this is the next day meal. I used the same thing. I combined all of this and put it in the lettuce wrap and topped it off with the shredded cauliflower, which looks like cheese. And this became another dish for the next day. So these are just an example. So again, like making the sandwich. So this is again the curry. So here, let me show you an example with what I did with all these ingredients. So the cut broccoli and peppers. So I made it a spiced rice. So I combined rice. I add spices and make it like we call it as biryani or pulao. And then so this was for the next day. So again, this I had some cooked rice, I had some chickpeas, so made chickpea curry out of it, and I made the salad. So this is lettuce, cut lettuce, and just made a bowl out of this. So these are some of the examples. So hope this is giving you guys some ideas. Okay, so I will stop here. So any questions based on what we have covered so far?
There's one question in the chat.
Mhm.
Karen is asking how much oat groats is a serving?
So cooked, half cup of cooked oat groats is 1 serving. So when it comes to grains, half cup of cooked grain is 1 serving. Same thing with beans. Half cup of cooked bean is 1 serving. Yeah. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, so I know like this session we covered like how to do the meal prep, like how to use the habit design for preparing our meals. And as Karen wanted, next session we can design our habit around the physical activity. Thank you, Tasha. Yes. So, or if there are any things that you want me to cover, please let me know, and I would be happy to discuss that. So, like whether it is habit design around sleep, habit design around physical activity, whether it is habit design around meal planning, feel free to let me know, and we can definitely cover that. So next month, what we'll do is we will cover the physical activity part. Okay? Okay, then. Thanks, James. So have a wonderful rest of the day and see you guys. See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.